Hey everybody, and greetings from Arizona. Today, a viewer asked me to give my thoughts on the new Smith Wesson FPS, FPC, I don't know. Anyway, we're going to talk about the new fancy folding Keltec knockoff. Let's get into it. Now, if you like this content, like, sub, shares, comments, all that good stuff, I really appreciate it. Also down below, coupon codes for anybody interested, along with merch available that all help support the channel and helps me do more range reviews, stuff like that, which we're gonna start trying to do a lot more of that stuff with the relocation, hoping to get some interesting, footage and maybe do some different style reviews, maybe, while shooting the guns. Fingers crossed, we'll see what happens. Anyway, the Smith Wesson FPC. So, what's my thoughts on it? My thoughts are very mixed on it, but at the end of the day, I guess it's kind of neat. It is a side folder versus a top folder. Everybody's comparing this to the Keltec Sub 2000 because at the end of the day, it's basically a Smith Wesson version of a Keltec Sub 2000. I like that side folding for the reasons that you can put an optic on it. You can put an optic on this gun, leave it on, zeroed, all that good stuff, and you don't have to worry about it when you fold the gun up. 16-inch threaded barrel, nice. You can add a suppressor if you'd like. At the end of the day, the features on this are pretty decent. They have a polymer rail on it. I guess one of the big things, I'm not a huge fan of all the polymer, but whatever. They have a polymer rail on the thing that basically has a ton of M-lock slots on it. Kind of reminds me of the Midwest Industries rail, but made out of polymer. They already make them out of polymer, I don't know. I've only owned one, and it was aluminum. But basically, it allows you to add a whole bunch of extra stuff. Now, I like the ability to add a light, sling, and all that stuff with ease, but with this, it's only a couple pounds lighter than an AR-15. So for me, adding a ton of stuff to this kind of defeats the purpose of having a lighter pistol caliber carbine. That doesn't mean I won't add that stuff. It's just something to keep in mind if you're kind of planning on buy this and then add, your light, IR, sling mounts, all that fancy grips and all that stuff. You're going to add weight to it. You might as well just have an AR. I like the ambidextrous charging handle. It's back in the kind of the stock. I like that. It's nice to see ambidextrous stuff like that. These bolt releases are kind of awkward. They look very small, kind of like basically like they took the bolt release or the slide release off of the Smith Wesson M&P and stuck it on this. I'm sure the aftermarket community will probably address that. This does take M&P mags. It does not take Glock mags that I know of. That for me is a big thing. I'm not a Glock fanboy, but at the end of the day, Glock mags are kind of the gold standard. The community and the industry has decreed that if you do a pistol caliber carbine in 9mm, it should take Glock mags because that's the most prevalent magazine out there. You can get stick mags, you can get 33 rounders, easy, aftermarket 33 rounders, everybody makes a mag pull, everybody. You can get drums of varying amounts and quantities and quality. Just tons of different aftermarket support for Glock magazine fed firearms. This runs off the Smith & Wesson M&P magazines. They're more expensive, they're harder to find, and they're not nearly as versatile. But if you're an M&P fan, you're in luck because this will run them. So, not bad. That's my major thing about this. There's other stuff. So this folds when it folds together, like it comes together like this, it's held together via friction. In my experience with knives and guns and basically tools in general, friction, things are held together by friction. If you do it enough and you have the gun long enough or you have the item long enough, eventually they will start to loosen up. Will this loosen up? Time will tell. But I prefer something that's more of like a positive locking. Now the gun does, when you fold it out, it does lock and you have to push a button or pull a lever to release it. But it's just held together via friction when it's folded in half. Not the end of the world, but if it starts to loosen up, it can, flop apart, and depending upon how you're carrying it or storing it, it could flop apart and, get like, bumped around a little bit. Not the end of the world, just something to keep in mind. I do not like that there's so much plastic on it. I will say that I'm not a big fan of plastic. Everybody that's watched the channel knows that. But with this thing being a lightweight carbine, you know, I guess it kind of makes sense. The receiver of it, I will say, one thing I thought was kind of neat was, and this is random, means nothing, but it did kind of give me an MG42 vibe. So I thought that was kind of neat how it kind of, you know, had that, like, just kind of remind you of the top cover of an MG42. I like that the stock you can fit extra magazines into the buttstock. That's a nice little feature. It would be nice to see an adapter to take lock mags. Maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't. But I think for me, that's the biggest hindrance on this gun, is the fact that it doesn't. But past that, I mean, seems like an all right little gun. I question the use of it, because here's the thing. You're not going to use this for home defense because there's much better options, and if in a home defense gun you really don't need a folder. This is kind of a backpack gun, a trunk gun, you know, going on a hike needing a little bit extra firepower gun, which if you're going on a hike, you know, depending upon what you might encounter, 9mm might not be enough. As I've said with every other one of these little 9mm carbines, I'd like to see it in 10. I'd like to see it in, you know, 44. I know 44 is a bit out there, but 10 is not. I'd like to see it in bigger, more powerful calibers that can really be woken up by a 16-inch barrel. So that's my quick thoughts on this. Put down below, is this something you're going to buy? Is it something you're going to pass on? I personally pass on pretty much everything put out by Smith Wesson just because I've had a terrible experience with their QC. I hope it someday improves, but for now, I'm passing on anything with the SW on the side of it. But put down below what you think, and have a good day.